Unlike my theory, the teaser did not release on the 27th, but it did release on Lunar New Year, and 12 days after the X1 teaser, so it couldn't be more fitting. Before I explain my theory, let's first start with taking a look at the teaser. It starts where we last left off, this scene establishing that we are in Paris, Heejin in this white dress that looks like her debut dress. When she turns around, the camera pans down, as if we were not meant to look at her directly. Instead, it shows us her white shoes. Now we get a really quick shot of her running, which is kind of odd, but maybe she is running away or after someone, because the next scene glitches when we see Heejin looking around confused, as if she really was looking for someone, and now she teleports to this place. Yeah, this doesn't 100% look like Haseul's X1 teaser, but you know what it does look like? I would argue that this looks a lot more like Haseul's Let Me In MV. Keep this in mind for later. So she all of a sudden is here. This kind of reminds me of the other circle members being teleported to Middle Earth in their subunit MVs. But also, maybe even more fitting, Heejin's Vivid MV shows us Heejin being bored of cleaning the house of a rich woman, when suddenly she is teleported to a colorful and weird place, like Alice in Alice in Wonderland. To me, it seems like, unlike the other circle members and Haseul, that seem to be able to travel to Middle Earth intentionally, maybe Heejin is brought back there by another member or through her memories, but not intentionally, since she seems to be confused after teleporting to this place. This is also underlined by the sound. At the beginning, the MV is almost silent, but a note plays. When this glitch effect suddenly teleports her, this weird sound plays. And then this sounds like shell shock. When something loud goes off next to your ears, you can't really hear anything anymore, but sometimes you can hear this loud peep kind of noise, like we can hear now, which is underlining the shocked expression on Heejin's face. Now we glitch back to Paris, but now with colors. With two colors in particular, blue and yellow, and kind of pink. This is the same effect that was used for the hash teaser, connecting this again with the hash and burn era we never really got. Now quick shot of a poster of Heejin. When we see Heejin wander around Paris again. This, by the way, reminds me a lot of the building from the X3X teaser and the Butterfly MV. This far in the teaser, we didn't really get to see Heejin's eyes. But now it pans up and we can see her face, when we see that she is looking at the poster from earlier. Yes, this is a callback to the Luna teaser. The first Luna teaser to ever release that shows off a really young Heejin at night back in 2016, looking at her teaser image. And now this is in 2025 and Heejin is looking at her teaser image. But is this really the same image as in 2016? I mean, no, of course not. It's a different hand pose and the dress is completely different. Two things about this. One, they probably don't have the rights to the original picture, being that this picture was taken for their old company, so the rights probably belong to them. And second, they probably chose this picture as a callback because it's the easiest to replicate. The image Heejin is looking at the end of her teaser from 2016 was her eating ice cream in this specific dress, leaning on a building that would have been impossible to recreate one-to-one. So this leads me to think that this is not necessarily as deep as one might think. Of course, this could be a reference to the timeline having changed, so the teaser image changed as well, or how the members are older now and so they had to recreate the old teaser to show the growth. But all in all, the fact that they tried their best to recreate a teaser one-to-one, to me feels like they probably don't want us to overanalyze this fact and just take it for what it is. Heejin looking at her past. Just like Haseul, Heejin is looking back at her beginnings in Loona. It's like the members start to remember their past lives, which also fits in a lot with the recent tour announcement, because not only did they announce a tour, but the tour is supposed to be mostly Loona tracks and related to Loona. My thoughts on this is maybe this comeback is a celebration of Loona and their past. Maybe they are really going next level with this and try to do a concert/cinema theory combo. While the members perform their songs, they show us teasers and snippets of the story, explaining to us the timeline and story of the Loonaverse. Not only would that be great to clean some things up about the lore, but they could also show New Orbit or Uri the story of Loona in a less complicated way, since even experienced lorebits have to put a lot of thought into creating theories, because this timeline is just all over the place. So maybe it's less of a Luna tour with only 5 members, but more of a here is the lore of these 5 members, and this is how they ended up becoming ARTMS. By the way, I feel like the Burn teaser song is now much more clean compared to X1, where there is another track on top of this, so maybe they are distorting the song less and less with every new teaser, before giving us the last teaser with the clean sound, or maybe a new snippet of the song. Overall, this teaser again shows us the past of Loona and the ARTMS members reconnecting with this past. Although I have to say that this teaser doesn't seem like an X2 teaser, but more like a X 1.5. We saw Heejin being teased in the last teaser, and this teaser seems to be connected to the last one, kind of like hinting at the fact that Heejin and Hustle are connected. Maybe Hustle brought Heejin to this place in Middle-earth and showed her her past, symbolized by Heejin looking at her old teaser and being in Paris. But I think that the next 2 teasers are going to connect to the object votes again, and since we chose the Converse and Hi objects, I think that the next teasers are going to show us 1. Oddeye Circle's memories of their past as Oddeye Circle, and 2. All of the members reminisce about their time together as 12. And this could all tie into the fact that the ARTMS members could realize that they had even more members, and that they have to set out to find them. Maybe that's why they want to reach the moon. Now, for my theory to make sense, I have to explain something else first. In the past, I had a theory that I was working on figuring out the logistics of, so I never really released the video and tried to stick with the timeline that Orbit have agreed on. But I think this might connect well with this current teasers, so here's my idea. When we look at where the Loonaverse starts, we could say that it starts with Heejin's Vivid MV, but in her MV she talks about colors awakening in the world around her, so maybe it started with the Oddeye Circle members making their colors bloom. But then again, Yejin and Hustle are seen together with Cherry in her MV, so maybe the My Melody and My Sunday MVs play out before that, making Hyunjin's MV the first since she only met Heejin at the end of her MV. But this would then mean that the timeline starts with Hyunjin meeting Heejin, but in a way it would start even before that because BB had to become an android and end up on Earth somehow. Well, you can see the problem here. When and where the Loona timeline starts is not an easy question to answer, which is also why it takes me so long to create the timeline video. But I had this theory in the past that there is this place outside of time, a time paradox in which time stands still, and some of the members could enter this place and find their way out again. This would cause them to enter a different place and time, explaining why so many points in the timeline seem to be playing out at the same time, or something happening before something else, but not making sense because at this time the member would have not been able to do this, and so on. You know how in physics we talk about the time-space continuum? To not make this overly difficult to understand, because to be honest I also only understand a fraction of it, it could be explained like this. If you take 2 twins, and then one of them is going on a spaceship with the speed of light, they can go on a voyage and explore for a year. But once they come back to Earth, their twin would be a lot older than them. Even though the spaceship was only traveling for a year, the speed at which they traveled means that they moved faster through space and time, making their years something closer to like 40 years on Earth. This is also something interesting about black holes. In close distance to a black hole, time would be so slow that for the people traveling to and from the black hole, what felt like a 20-year voyage to them could feel more like 20 minutes on Earth, since time is moving fast here on Earth compared to next to the black hole. To apply this concept of space and time being one thing, it could basically mean that time and space are something that is woven together, not 2 separate things. When you visit the same place over and over again, it's the same place but not the same time, and since it's a different time, the place in a way is different too. Kind of like at the end of this video, where we see Heejin in Paris looking at her teaser photo. This happened in 2016, but now she is quote-unquote in the same space, doing the same thing, but at a different time, changing the reality she is in, making this a different space-time. Same but different, you know? Time affects space and space affects time. So in the Loonaverse, space and time move in the form of the Mobius strip. That is meant to repeat itself indefinitely. There could be 2 balls placed on the opposite sides of the Mobius, but they would never collide, only moving in the same pattern over and over again, being unable to reach one another or to stop. So when Cherry enters Middle-earth in her solo MV, she wakes up in a place similar to the place we last saw her in, but the clock is on its head and the building she is in looks abandoned. Same space, different time, or different time, same space, making this a different space-time. Maybe the time in this place moves different, making the place age rapidly and being overgrown, or maybe time moves differently altogether, backwards, or something like that. When Kimlip and Jinsul enter their Middle-earth, it's always shaped by them, unlike what we see in most other MVs. Kimlip, Jinsul, and Cherry color the worlds in their colors and create new places. On the other hand, the Earth Girls, and to some extent the Eden Girls as well, tell us stories of girls being normal teenage girls. But it also shows us again and again that they are only observers, being unable to change something in their own lives. Not unlike what it feels like to teenage girls in real life too. Heejin is observing the world around her change, but just like Alice in Wonderland, she cannot take control of her situation, being swallowed by color before being returned to the boring reality. Hyunjin is in love with a boy, but is too shy to even tell him. She sees a cat that visits her, but is unable to return a letter to the cat. She starts and ends the MV being in the same dilemma. Hazel is in a way the odd one out, since even though she is unable to change anything on Earth, she is able to visit the time void, Middle-earth, seen in her MV, where she sets the little prince free to return to his home by shooting him, and in the Carol, where she is late to the party on Earth, also something seemingly being at odds with fate and the path set in stone for her. She is only late because she met Chu in Middle-earth. Hazel is a person that moves these events forward. In a way, she even is at fault for Yeojin being lost in the forest for so long, because it's said that Yeojin jumps around like a frog, following Hazel around everywhere, and Hazel being somewhat of a bad omen because where she moves, rain follows her, could then be at fault for Yeojin getting lost. So she has very much a butterfly effect in it of itself. Then we have Yeojin, who is stuck in this castle type of place, i.e. Eden, and is unable to get away from her admirer that seemingly wants her to grow up and kiss him, or eat something, which to me is a reference to this being Cherry, making her eat an apple like she tried with Gohan as well, to make them open their eyes and take responsibility. Although Gohan and Yeojin's MVs are basically the same, they are hesitant and don't want to do this. At the end of Gohan's MV, she takes the role of a leader and is crowned, unlike Yeojin, who wants to stay a child for a little while longer. And finally, Bibi, who is the one most held down by her fate. She is a robot on Earth and is unable to live a normal life. By the end of her journey in Love and Live, she turns back into a human, or at least she gets back her human emotions and some of her memories. And she can only do this by traveling to this new place, i.e. Middle-earth. But still she is unable to change the fate of her sisters in Eden. Only when Eve visits Middle-earth and reaches out to Bibi, they are finally able to reconnect and they skate together. And through this you hopefully noticed a pattern, right? All of the members' actions are somehow connected to Middle-earth. Everything that goes according to fate is something the girls struggle with and can't change, and anything they do change happens through the power of Middle-earth. Heejin seeing color awaken in the world, Hyunjin finding out about the Eden Girls through being pen pals with Gohan, Hazel setting free the prince, in my theory Hazel saving Bibi out of Middle-earth, Yeojin being lost in Middle-earth after following Hazel there, Yeojin meeting the Eden Girls and maybe even being the one that teaches Eve that there is a way out of Eden, the 1/3 girls finding out that they can travel to Middle-earth and they cast a spell of love to get back Yeojin. This maybe leads to Cherry being the one to save Yeojin. Cherry, Kimlip, and Jinsul going to Middle-earth and awakening their powers fully. Cherry meeting Eve in Middle-earth, Cherry giving the apple to Gohan and Gohan meeting Hyunjin in her shadow form, Chu meeting Hazel and getting together with Eve, Haeju leaving Eden to find Jinsul in Middle-earth, and finally meets Heejin on Earth. So basically Oddeye Circle coming together and saving YY by Y with the help of 1/3, ending in them being all together in Middle-earth at the end of Hi Hi and running together into their future. This all is only possible through them going to or from Middle-earth. So, quick summary. Middle-earth is a place outside of space and time where the members find the ability to change the future, past and present. In a way, being able to travel through time and change the butterfly effects that led them to their bad endings. To anyone that hasn't heard my border theory before, quick summary of this as well. Borderless MVs show us that something that happened is set in stone and cannot be changed by connecting to this time through Middle-earth. Shown to us by Gohan being unable to stop Hazel from reaching the plane, because Let Me In is a borderless MV and we see Hazel reaching the plane there. And these events then lead to the timeline splitting into the Hi Hi and Butterfly timelines. One where they end up connecting through Middle-earth, white border, and one where they have to find their own way to Middle-earth, black border, ending up being unable to find one another on Earth like we see in the X number X teasers. And now we see this place again, in the X1 and X2 teasers. To me this place is not only Middle-earth, but maybe like the starting point of this story. Something that happened here is inevitable, but causes a butterfly effect that shapes the whole Loonaverse. And to me that is figuring out what Hazel did in the Let Me In MV that ends up leading to the members either ending up together as a group or being all alone on Earth. To me, it seems like the white border and black border timelines are only split up because of something major changing the timeline and causing a butterfly effect. I think this might also have something to do with the emotions of the YYY members being mixed up. Maybe the YYY members going to Earth, not as a unit, but in division, just like we can see in the X number X teasers, is what leads to Loona not being able to unite as 12, as one group. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that Hustle meets Chu in Middle-earth. Maybe in one timeline Chu learns to let go of her obsessive love through meeting Hustle and starts to hope for a better future that she can create with her own two hands, instead of looking up to this unreachable idol called Eve. And in this version, maybe they all end up together in Middle-earth because Chu and Gohan go through Middle-earth together, and Eve is free to wait for Haeju on the other side, who was led there by the Odd Circle unit. In the other timeline, Chu is too obsessed with Eve, and they become overbearing on their members, like we can see in the Black Border MVs. They want to scare Gohan into eating her fruit, want to exclude Haeju so much that she gives in and eats her fruit, and ultimately that ends up dividing them even more and making them unable to reunite. After all, only Chu and Eve unite in the X number X teasers, so maybe this shows us the consequences of the emotions changing. And so Gohan moves back in time through Middle-earth and wants to stop Hustle from meeting Chu or from teaching Chu the wrong lesson maybe. But I don't quite know why. What is it that Hustle does here that changes everything? And even though the Why Not MV was not made together with Jade and Jong, I still think that they took some of his ideas, and maybe the plane crashing at the end of the Why Not MV would have connected to this part of the story. Something having to be destroyed to create something new. So they travel back in time to before the timeline starts with this plane crashing to see what causes the timeline to loop. Basically it being caused by the plane crashing for some reason. Yeah, so these are a lot of ideas, and I hope you could get something out of this, and hopefully we will see us again in 12 days for the next teaser. So if you liked the video, you can like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.